These beautiful and colorful art crafts in front of the camera are named Jing Thailand. It's a combination of Chinese traditional bronze and china arts, paintings, carving arts, and foreign enamel techniques. A kind of handicraft of decorating enamel on the metal was introduced from Arab into China in the late half of the 13th century. Such folk art craft has experienced repeated practices and compromise for several hundred years in the hands of Chinese craftsmen. In the mid-15th century, the Jing Tai period in the Ming Dynasty, this art craft had its own features and were pretty mature. It used to be named Jing Thailand because such articles were solely made in blue at the beginning. Lan means blue. Although there are various colors of enamel developed later on, the name Jing Thailand is still used to refer to this kind of art craft, but not only a color anymore. Articles of Jing Thailand are magnificent, colorful, shining, and are worthy of appreciating and collecting. However, its production procedure can be very complicated, and thus it is priced so high that the common people usually cannot afford it. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, Jing Thailand was the decorative articles owned only by royal families, a symbol of nobility and wealth. Workshop of enamel was set up in the Forbidden City during the Qing dynasty, specializing in producing elegant Jing Thailand. Later on, this craft was introduced to the folk communities so that it could be passed on over generations and last till now. Making Jing Thailand is a very complicated process, which each step closely connected to the previous one. It can only be finished through more than 10 steps, including making copper mold, welding copper wire, coloring, polishing, gold plating, and so on. All steps begin with mold making. Firstly, craftsmen choose pieces of copper of exactly the same thickness. Then they cut and hammer them into the molds for different kinds of articles by repeatedly beating and molding with patience. And a magnificent and elegant art craft is to be created from the not eye-absorbing copper mold. Craftsmen first weld thin and flat wires into all kinds of complex shapes and patterns, such as mountains, rivers, flowers, and birds, and then paste them onto the copper mold one by one. Such a plain vase needs 500-meter-long copper wires. The brilliant colors on Jing Thailand are inlaid into the empty spaces formed by copper wires like this. This key step is called coloring blue. Another key step which is critical to the colors of Jing Thailand is enamel firing. Temperature for enamel firing is usually above 600 degrees centigrade. Any mistake in temperature will cause wrong colors or shades of glade, which lead to failure. After burning, the size of the colors will shrink. Therefore, steps of enamel coloring and enamel firing must be repeated several times. This vase of peony can be so brilliant and dazzling in colors only after repeated coloring and firing. Although polishing is the last step, it is not the least one. Jing Thailand can be brilliant and dazzling in colors only after being polished by sandstones, yellowstones, and charcoal. From the Ming and Qing dynasties, Jing Tailan was introduced overseas with trade ships and has influenced the production and style of enamel making in all countries for several hundred years. Even now, you can find traces of Jing Tailan in Japanese pottery making crafts and enamel in Western paintings. These three techniques of enamel have their own advantages and learn from each other. On May the 20th, 2006, the production technique of Jing Tailan was approved to be put in the list of the first national non-material cultural heritage by the Chinese government. Jing Tailan, Jing Tailan, 漂亮，漂亮。